When the next recession hits, millions of jobs will be lost, and most of them won't be coming back. That's because companies will turn to AI to cut costs instead of rehiring people, with recent data suggesting it's already happening. And beneath all the AI hype lies a weakening jobs market that few are talking about.
What are you talking about?
So that's why today we're breaking down why the labour market isn't as strong as it seems, which jobs are vanishing to AI, what it all means for the markets, and for you. My name is Guy, and you're watching The Coin Bureau. Before we dive in though, I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial or investment advice. It's educational content intended to help you understand what's really happening with AI and the jobs market. So if that sounds good, make sure to smash that like button and let's get into it. Now, at first glance, the labour market looks fine. The US unemployment rate sits around 4.3% as of August 2025, which is low by historical standards. But look closer and the global jobs engine is clearly sputtering. Germany just passed 3 million unemployed for the first time in a decade, and China's youth unemployment has re-accelerated to nearly 18%, as weak demand keeps hiring flat. Even in the US, hiring has cooled, and those help-wanted signs are quietly disappearing. And for the first time since 2021, there are more unemployed Americans, about 7.24 million, than there are job openings, around 7.18 million. That ratio flipping is a major red flag, signaling that the balance of power has shifted away from workers. So, why aren't the headlines screaming recession? Well, because unemployment is a lagging indicator and it always peaks after the damage is already done. During the 2008 financial crisis, for example, the stock market bottomed in March 2009, but unemployment didn't peak until that October. The same pattern repeated in 2020, and we could be seeing it again in 2025. The difference this time is that markets are near record highs, even as cracks spread through the labour data. It's an unusual and potentially dangerous sequence. But why do the official numbers look so misleading? Because the Bureau of Labour Statistics data is full of distortions. Weekly jobless claims, for instance, often used as a pulse check on the jobs market, misses millions of gig workers and contractors who don't qualify for state benefits. Simply put, when traditional payroll jobs vanish, many of these workers turn to gig work to stay afloat. But their job loss never shows up in the data, creating the illusion of stability. And the pressure doesn't stop there. More Americans are juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet, while the number of part-time workers for economic reasons keeps climbing. It's often one of the first quiet warning signs of deeper trouble, with employers trimming hours while workers scramble to fill the gap, all before the official layoffs begin. At the same time, job mobility has frozen. Workers who once jumped between roles for better pay are now clinging to what they have, a trend economists call job hugging. It's become clear that new high-paying roles are scarce, and that uncomfortable call from the boss could come at any moment, as we've seen across tech and finance. Which brings us to the area where the cracks are showing most: entry-level white-collar jobs. The question of companies eliminating the human element is no longer theoretical. It's already happening, and the pain is falling squarely on the group that was told they'd be safest: new college graduates. According to recent data, job postings for new grads have dropped by around 33% over the past year, 3 times faster than the decline in senior-level positions. For the first time in more than 45 years, unemployment among recent college graduates is higher than for the broader US workforce. Imagine spending 4 years earning a degree only to find yourself worse off than someone without one. So, what's behind this? Well, it's called drudge work replacement. Entry-level jobs in sectors like finance, consulting, and law depend on repetitive tasks, taking meeting notes, filling spreadsheets, and processing data. And that is exactly what AI now excels at. An international law firm, Simmons & Simmons, found that AI could eliminate up to 80% of the work typically done by a junior lawyer. Even everyday tools like Microsoft Teams, now powered by OpenAI, can record meetings and draft summaries automatically. So, why hire a new graduate when software can do the same work faster and cheaper with no benefits or supervision required? As a result, companies are quietly purging their youngest cohorts. Many so-called entry-level jobs now demand 3 to 5 years of experience, not because the work requires it, but because it's an easy way to limit applications while the role is gradually automated away. The consequence is that a college degree is no longer currency. It's often a debt sentence. Even major employers like IBM and Google have scrapped degree requirements for some roles, admitting that real-world skills matter more than a diploma. So, if your degree didn't leave you with practical abilities or a demonstrable portfolio, it might not count for much at all. And while the graduate job market is weak across the board, the impact isn't equal. The sharpest rise in unemployment is among young men with degrees in computer science, finance, and tech, fields where demand has vanished and hundreds compete for every role. Meanwhile, roles which are less easy to automate are holding steady. Young women, for instance, are more concentrated in healthcare and education, sectors that still rely on a human touch. Similarly, men in skilled trades and manual labour are still in steady demand. There's even an economic reason for it, called cost disease. Essentially, when productivity rises rapidly in sectors like tech, most of the gains flow to company owners and shareholders, not workers, which concentrates wealth at the top. But in jobs that can't easily be automated, like plumbing or nursing, productivity barely changes, so those roles hold their value. In other words, your average developer might soon be replaced by an algorithm, but a plumber or electrician probably won't be.
Well, hello there. I know you're enjoying the video immensely, but I just very quickly want to tell you about the Coin Bureau deals page. Now, if you're looking for some of the very best deals and promos in all of crypto, such as, for instance, up to $100,000 in sign-up bonuses and up to 60% in trading fee discounts on some of the top crypto exchanges out there, as well as insane discounts on hardware wallets and much more besides, then check out the Coin Bureau deals page in the description below. And now, back to the video.
But why are companies so eager to gut their own talent pipelines and risk a future shortage of skilled workers? The answer is simple. Corporations are structurally designed to maximize profit for shareholders. Back in the late 1970s and early 80s, corporate America quietly shifted from a model of retain and reinvest to one of downsize and distribute. Labor stopped being viewed as an asset to grow. It became a cost to cut. And when employees are seen purely as expenses, training and development become liabilities. That's why today's CEOs are, quite frankly, excited to lay people off. They see AI and robotics as the perfect workforce. Machines don't take sick days, don't need holidays, and they certainly don't unionize. Inside boardrooms, IT departments are already being reimagined as the future HR departments for AI agents. The goal isn't just higher productivity, it's freeing up executive time and slashing the human overhead. And this corporate zeal has now triggered what can only be described as a $2 trillion capital expenditure mania. AI has sparked a spending boom not seen since the railroad expansion of the 1800s. Capital expenditure on AI data centers alone now accounts for over 1% of US GDP, a staggering figure that's effectively turning the economy into a mini wartime machine, where chips are the guns and databases are the tanks. Just look at the numbers. The top 4 US tech giants, Amazon, Meta, Google, and Microsoft, are on track to spend $344 billion on compute infrastructure this year alone. Add in Chinese state enterprises and other global players, and total AI infrastructure investment already exceeds $2 trillion. But it's not just large language models attracting investment from big tech, it's also robotics. Elon Musk claims that Tesla's Optimus humanoids will eventually cost between $20,000 and $30,000 each. But even if you assume they'll sell for $100,000, that still means a company could replace a human worker for just 2 years of average US worker pay. And because these humanoids can operate in environments built for humans, using the same doors, tools, and workstations, companies don't even need to redesign their factories. They can simply swap out people for machines. We actually covered the future of humanoids in a separate video, by the way, which you can find right over here. Yet the AI boom isn't just a tech story anymore. It's become one of the few things keeping the global economy alive. Strip it away, and there's really no other significant growth driver in sight. Markets are effectively betting that AI will spark another productivity revolution like the internet did. But unlike the internet, which benefited nearly everyone, AI's advantages seem far more concentrated, at least for now. Even so, trillions keep pouring into the sector. Why? Because if this engine stalls, the stock market loses its support and the fragile global economy could snap. And that is something policymakers simply can't afford. Take the US, for example. The federal deficit is already running at around 7% of GDP. If the AI bubble bursts and a recession hits, those figures would explode, forcing central banks to print even more money just to keep the system afloat. And despite the fact that around 95% of companies using generative AI are seeing zero returns, investment hasn't slowed. Driven by the belief that whichever company or nation reaches artificial general intelligence, or AGI, first, will win the global AI arms race. So, to stay ahead, the US has been weaponizing its supply chains and restricting exports of high-end chips to China. But those restrictions have had an unintended consequence. They've forced China to innovate. Chinese firms like DeepSeek have managed to train cutting-edge large language models using a fraction of the compute of their US counterparts. It's a level of efficiency that's making it hard for American tech giants to justify their huge spending, showing just how quickly the playing field is starting to level. Then there's the energy problem. AI consumes a staggering amount of power. The International Energy Agency estimates that by 2026, AI could double global data center electricity demand, reaching around 1,000 terawatt-hours per year, more than the entire consumption of Japan. But the US isn't ready. Most of its power grid is over 50 years old, while China has been rapidly modernizing its energy infrastructure. That's one reason Washington is so determined to keep Beijing isolated, because whoever controls the hardware and energy supply chains controls the race. Meanwhile, US tech giants aren't waiting around for policy to catch up. They're securing their own power sources. Microsoft is resurrecting 3 Mile Island, and Amazon is bypassing the public grid entirely, locking in dedicated nuclear capacity for their data operations. And we've covered this new energy race in a separate video, which you can check out right over here. But this all brings us to the big question. What does all of this mean for the markets and for you? Well, let's start with the markets. Many analysts are calling today's valuations a bubble reminiscent of the early 2000s dot-com era, and for good reason. As of 2025, around 64% of all US venture capital has gone into AI startups. OpenAI alone is valued at $500 billion, despite burning through cash with no profitability in sight. In fact, companies are projecting $7 trillion in AI investment by 2030, but those forecasts rely on explosive productivity gains that may never fully materialize. To put it bluntly, AI isn't just another sector. It is the market, with big tech's valuations now holding up entire indexes. But if corporate spending slows, that illusion of growth could vanish overnight. In that sense, the AI revolution may already be too big to fail, and that's exactly what makes it so fragile. But what does this mean for ordinary people? Well, for decades, a person's greatest asset was their working life, 80,000 to 100,000 hours of labor. Today, though, that asset is being devalued fast. The top 10% of households now drive over half of all consumer spending, showing how the system increasingly rewards capital ownership, not effort. In other words, the people who own the machines, not the ones who work alongside them, are reaping the rewards. And while it's now clear that white-collar jobs, where most of the higher-paying roles still sit today, will be hit the hardest, The popular advice to just learn a trade isn't scalable either. If millions flood into blue-collar sectors, wages there would quickly collapse too. That said, though, history shows that new industries eventually emerge to absorb displaced workers, which will likely happen again. But transitions like these are never smooth, and the gap between skill sets keeps widening. Some policymakers have even proposed universal basic income, or UBI, a monthly payment given to all citizens, as a solution. But this idea is riddled with dystopian flaws. If it's funded by printed money, it risks fueling inflation, as we saw with pandemic stimulus checks. And if funded through heavy taxation, it erodes the very incentives that drive innovation and risk-taking. At that point, you're flirting with communism, not capitalism, and you can bet the elites will find a way to escape the fallout either way. So, what's the real solution? Well, at the individual level, adaptability. In a world where degrees are losing value, critical thinking isn't. Focus on skills that complement AI, things like judgment, empathy, creativity, and systems thinking. If you work in a repetitive role, or one already being replaced by AI, especially in fields like IT or law, now might be the time to upskill or pivot. Because in most cases, it won't be AI that replaces you, but someone who knows how to use it better. So, get comfortable with tools like ChatGPT and learn how to make them work for you, not against you. In the end, AI will undoubtedly reshape the job market, but it may also free us from tasks we probably shouldn't have been doing in the first place. Now, whether that freedom leads to a more creative future or one ruled by machines depends entirely on how we use it. Let's just hope it's not one managed by Tesla's Optimus robots and self-driving cars. And if you want to know how overusing AI is frying your brain, then check out our video on it right over here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that right here. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. This is Guy, signing off.